Okay, this is the last video, I hope, for the acquisition model. It's not the last one. It's not the last one. It's the second to the last one because we have to still finish the balance sheet, unfortunately. Excuse me. So this will be an important one though because we'll compute some of the outputs. Now I had to cheat a little bit. I didn't cheat at first. First, I just put in a cash flow sweep. We had discussed it and then we had modeled it. To put a cash flow sweep into the analysis, you need to, in the cash flow, put the sweep percentage, and then you use the maximum of the, it's the maximum of this or 0. So you don't sweep it when it's negative. And then you take that number and you multiply that by the sweep percentage. Okay, and then when you're finished with that, you take that one and take the minimum of the opening balance of the debt. But now two things happen with the opening balance of the debt. First, you have to take away any repayment you have scheduled, and then I added a repayment at exit as well. I didn't tell you about that, and then that's your cash sweep form. And the repayment at exit just says, well, if you get to the last year, multiply that I-16 is the terminal switch, and you've got any amount you have left over at that last year when we're having a terminal value, you better repay. I added another one that says, okay, let's put the holding period in, and everything stops after the holding period. Do you see that? It just stops. Now it looks pretty good. We have here's how much equity we put into the transaction. It's almost, maybe we should do something special, bold. And then here's how much equity we've taken out of the transaction. Okay, so the first method to evaluate the transaction would be to compute the rate of return, or the IRR, on that. And there's no theoretical issue with this IRR because it's just got one inflow and one outflow. So we put net equity cash flow, and in the very first period put a minus on the amount from the sources and uses, and then we put a positive on the rest of them, shift control R, and then we compute, if we want, we can compute a quarterly IRR. Do you think I was going to forget that and just put equal IRR? Okay, and that gives us 5%. That's a very good number. Whoops. Okay, and then we can put an annual IRR, which just says take that quarterly number, 1 plus the quarterly number, and raise it to the 4th power and subtract 1. So that's a 21% IRR, which is a reasonable number to expect. Part of that comes from the assumed, a big assumption from that is the assumed terminal value of, where's the terminal? Oh, here's the holding, 7. If this terminal value was only 5, that IRR goes down to 12%. So it's very sensitive to that one assumption you make. Now, it perhaps is also sensitive to the holding period. If we put 9 years holding period, watch it not work. Whoops, I think it didn't go out that far. Let's put 8 years. 24%. Let's put 5 years. Only 5%. So we have to have kind of an optimal holding period. We have to look at what our assumptions are for the out years. So we should be very careful with those. Now you can also compute the XIRR. And the XIRR, that Tribune company, transaction's a very interesting one to study because it had kind of some of these mistakes. They were so optimistic going in. All the assumptions were such rubbish, and they came out so badly. We need dates for the XIRR. I'm hoping luckily I have some dates, okay? And, just a minute. Okay, I made a mistake. Oof, that's kind of embarrassing. This should have been raised to the 3 months instead of the 4 periods. It's how months you have in the period. So if it was monthly, you'd raise it to 12, blah, blah, blah. All right, now let's look at our accretion and dilution, perhaps. If you recall, we made in the assumptions section, we made a assumption about the EPS, and perhaps this year, why don't I put year of the transaction? Okay, maybe we'll just put +1. Shift Control tilde, and let's just add 1 to those. Okay, Shift Control R. What? Oops, that's because it was up there. Shift Control C, and those are our EPS estimates. Let's see what happens. What the implied EPS on our transaction was compared to this. At least we can do some comparison now. We said our current stock price was 20. So if our current stock price is 20 and we issued this much equity, the new shares issued for the transactions would be, let's put the acquirer share price. And where was that? Let's find that one. That was on 20. So that means the new shared issues are this divided by 20, because if we multiply 80 shares times 20, we get that result. Okay? And then we can, at the very end, we can also look at earnings. And our earnings are just from we didn't compute the earnings. Okay. Let's put, that's our EBITDA less the depreciation less the interest. I think we had no taxes in this one, remember? I hope that's right. Did I forget something? So let's take our EBITDA minus our depreciation, which we have not adjusted yet for the other thing, and then I also put the interest here, and I did something really bad here. This interest, I'm going to leave this here, but this interest should have included any interest we pay on our revolving credit. Very bad. Very bad. Okay, so now our IRR is down 15%, and our earnings are not so good. Okay, that's our total earnings. And then let's put our earnings per share, shares of acquirers. At least you get the idea. The results aren't working out in a positive way, but why should they really? And press F4, and then we get our EPS impact is this. Okay. Did I forget something in profit and loss statement? Profit and loss rate, revenues minus depreciation. We didn't have any interest income, so I think we're okay. Okay, and there's our EPS impact, and let's do the same thing. Now, why don't we make another page to summarize a few of our outputs? Okay, Shift F11, which I don't seem to be able to press, and this will be kind of a summary page. And we can put our first thing, our equity IRR, that's the main number, that's the number everybody talks about if they're really talking about a leveraged buyouts. I suppose we'll use this one. And then we can put accretion and dilution. So let's put the years in this one. And these are the acquirer EPS, and we can put the EPS of target. Okay, we can compare them. We could do an even fancier analysis, but right now let's just get it started. Okay, and the EPS of the target is here. This is going to be a little trickier because what we need to do is go all the way up here, and right after the end of the quarter, let's put the year. Okay, and then we can use the sum if. Oh my gosh, am I losing it? Sum if. Go to the acquisition model, click on the year, come back to our summary page, click on that year, go back to the acquisition model, and go down and sum the EPS impact. I think we can do that. Oh, so we do have accretion. Ooh, big accretion. Okay. So if we would put this together, we could make a consolidated analysis. We'd have to to do that, we'd have to put some sort of assumption in an assumptions page of total acquirer. So we issued, how many shares did we issue? We issued 80 million shares. Let's say we were a much bigger company. Let's say we have 250 million shares. So if we wanted to make our consolidation analysis, we could put EPS of acquired. Why don't we just make a lookup? Okay, and let's look up this year. And once we look up this year, click on the year just like we always do, and this time click on the EPS. We get an NA in the first year, that doesn't matter. Okay, and then we should divide this by 4 to get it on a quarterly basis. So that's what our EPS on a standalone basis would be. And we can put our earnings, our shares. Okay, so put the shares up here, just like 4, F4, Shift Control R, and then we can put earnings of acquirer. Okay, which are just going to be this times this. Shift Control R, and now we can put the consolidated earnings okay, I didn't spell it right, I'm not going to. That's the earnings of the acquirer plus the earnings of the target here, okay, and then we put our total shares, which are the 250 shares we start with plus the shares we issue in the transaction. So there's our total shares, and then now we can compute consolidated EPS. And that's OLIDT EPS, which is just this divided by that, and that we can then pull over to our other sheet. So why don't we just put that right up here. Okay, and that's a SUMIF, and we click on, again, the acquisition model, go up to the year, click on the summary page. I hope you see that when you get used to this kind of stuff, if you haven't done much of it before, my suggestion, my strong suggestion, you won't listen to me, I'm sure, but is to just try. So that's how and if we want to then make a little alternate and F1, we where did it go? Somewhere. I thought I made it. Do I have to do something else with this new Excel? No. I press alternate and F1. Let's take this one. Maybe I have to, I didn't know you have to click on it like that. And then, okay, and we can see that what we have in terms of accretion or dilution. Who cares about this silly title, okay? Let's do one more little analysis. What am I doing? Okay, and the final analysis is, let's put NP economic analysis. And this is this basic theory that the premium should be less than the NPV of the synergies. And since the premium is computed on an after-tax basis, let's get the premium. The synergies also must be computed on an after-tax basis. So the premium is 30% of the, well, it isn't really. The premium is the total consideration that was paid minus the market capitalization, wasn't it? And the NPV of the synergies, well, let's put a discount rate, and that's a subject of a lot of debate because these could be very risky. Let's use a 7% rate, even though it's probably not very good. And let's go into our acquisition model and put our synergies. And we'll just add up the two synergy categories that we computed. Remember, those were the, we didn't do it. The revenue synergies times the revenues plus the CapEx times the CapEx. So Shift Control R. Isn't it? It's the revenue synergies minus the CapEx synergies, excuse me. See, showing you that maybe these things are not quite all as easy. Well, they'd be easy for you. For me, they're. So we have negative synergies at first and then positive synergies that just kind of last forever. Why this, well, we're just putting in them over the holding period. I'll do the same thing. So if we put equal NPV at the discount rate of all of the synergies, people get into kind of arguments about terminal value of synergies and everything else because they theoretically, oh no, we got a negative synergy because we had so many capex. That's not so good. But it does show us the technique. Perhaps I'll put a little bit of a higher synergy. I'll put a 10%. Yeah, that's kind of cheating, isn't it? Okay, so it's our premium is still less than our synergy, so the net economic value is still negative. If you get this book called The Synergy Trap, I hope you get mine first, but that would be that's the whole theme of this book. That so many of these mergers really didn't make sense because of all the synergy. So that's 3 different ways to look at an acquisition. If you look at the IRR, it seems to be good. The EPS seems to be very, very good because of those PE differences, actually. But the economic value is negative, and that's the true theoretical value. So I'm stopping this video now, but you hopefully get the idea. Oh yeah, I shouldn't stop first. I didn't do my... always forget to advertise those wonderful courses at www.financeenergyinstitute.com. They're so reasonably priced. They're just...